Pretty much every single time I get an Artsnacks box, I try to record and finish said video for the Artsnacks box within a few days of getting it, and Artsnacks boxes tend to arrive within the first week of the month, if not like the day before the start of the month, which is really nice. But for this box in particular, I was holding on to it because I was in the process of moving at the time, and also on top of that, I was super intimidated by the fact that something that came in this box was acrylic paints, and they were really weird acrylic paints. These are the Senlier Abstract Matte Soft Body Acrylics, and they come in little bags instead of tubes, which is very interesting. It's very different. I haven't seen or owned anything like this before, so I haven't really worked with acrylics alongside that in about a month, so I was very intimidated by these paints, so I held on to them for a while before I actually used them. The sticker this month was really cute though. It's just a pastel little Artsnacks logo. It's very, very cute. We also got a King Art Radiant Taklon brush in an oval wash. And last but not least, we also received a Winsor & Newton fine liner within this box, which I was interested to try out because I haven't used Winsor & Newton fine liners. I don't really even know if I knew they carried those or made those, so I was interested to see how these art supplies would work. Very much so intimidated by that paint though. It took me a while to actually get around and using these supplies. They've been sitting on my desk for almost 3 weeks now actually, and I've just been kind of putting it off. I honestly didn't even know if I was going to make an Artsnacks unboxing video for August's Artsnacks box, just because I was like, I don't really know what to do with these art supplies, especially the colors I got. I was like, I don't really know what I want to paint with these or do with these, and I hadn't worked with acrylics in a while. I haven't worked with acrylics in a while, so it was a process. So as per usual, I just kind of winged it, and this is what I ended up doing. First and foremost, I swatched the materials in my sketchbook, and this is in the ELO sketchbook, which is not really intended to hold any kind of wet media. And while acrylics aren't super wet media, I mean, I would still consider them to be wet media just because they're not dry. And this sketchbook does hold acrylics really well, I've noticed. I haven't used them a ton, but pretty much when it comes to acrylics, if you can just get one layer down, they kind of build their own surface on whatever initial surface you're using, so you're pretty much good to go as long as you can get the one layer down. It shouldn't destroy the surface you're working on. Something I did notice about these paints was that they dried very, 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 very quickly, especially when it came to doing even the gradient that I was doing in the swatch. It dried super fast, so if I wanted to go back up to the top, it wouldn't really be happening. As far as the fine liner went, to me, it's just a normal fine liner. I don't really go out of my way to use fine liners at this point in my artistic career, if you want to call it that. I don't really like fine liners. I used to use them all the time, but I don't know if it's just I have really bad tight grip on fine liners, or if it's just because my wrist and my hands are pretty weak from cake decorating, which I did for a couple years. But fine liners, they just cramp up my hand, they hurt my hand, I don't like using them anymore, so I tend to not use fine liners. So that's just personal preference, and as a whole, I don't really like how harsh they look anyway, so it doesn't really bother me that I physically don't like using them because it doesn't feel good when I use fine liners. But even in just doing the small amount of fine liner work, which I guess it's not a tiny amount of fine liner work, but in the small illustration I ended up doing, my hand was already like cramped up and hurting by the end of it, so that was fun. I don't like fine liners because of that. I don't really like using them, but I did it anyways. And I was actually really surprised with how well the fine liner worked on top of the paint. I know it's not necessarily the most desirable surface to use fine liners on, but it did hold up really well, at the very least on paper for this. I have seen a lot of other people who did this Artsnacks box, and especially with the Artsnacks Plus one, I believe that they gave canvases for the surface for the Artsnacks Plus box, and if you don't know what the Artsnacks Plus box is, it's basically an upgraded version of Artsnacks that says it'll come with like maybe a couple extra supplies each month, as well as a surface to work on for said supplies. And I have seen a lot of people's videos where they did use these and use the fine liner on top of the canvas surface, and it really didn't go well. So I think it just boils down to what the initial surface is, because I didn't have problems on either my ELO sketchbook, which is just regular like thicker paper. It's not intended for wet media, but it's just paper. And then my final illustration was something that I did on watercolor paper, and I believe this was B Company paper? I'm not really sure. I have a few just random watercolor sheets sitting around in a certain spot in my area, and I grabbed one and worked on that. So as far as what I ended up drawing, I had no idea what I wanted to do with these paints. I didn't know if I wanted to do a character. I didn't know if I wanted to like straight up paint something. I wasn't super fond of the colors I got just because I got a plain yellow and a green. I would have really enjoyed getting like a yellow and an orange, more so of a yellow and a green. I know in this Artsnacks box, one of the other color options was a red. I would have preferred that, but I mean, you kind of get what you get. I'm not complaining necessarily. I just was very, very lost when it came to what I wanted to paint. So I decided to do a cheap thing and just do a gradient and draw a little forest with a fine liner on it, which, mind you, this is something that's really out of my comfort zone. I know it's super, super simple. It's very simple, but I want to practice on scenery more. I want to practice on backgrounds more because that's something that I haven't dedicated hardly any time to in terms of like creating art. I haven't done a lot of backgrounds and I want to get better at it and I want to get comfortable with it. So I referenced like 4 different pictures of a forest off of Google, and this is what we came out to. It's not anything like super grand, it's just a little doodle, so I feel like I really cheated this Artsnacks box and made something that wasn't particularly, I mean, anything special. It's not bad, I like how it turned out looking, but it's nothing particularly exciting in my opinion, so it is what it is. Maybe next time I'll not get acrylics. Not that there's anything wrong with acrylics, and by all means I want to play with acrylics more. I want to get more comfortable with the medium, but like I don't know what I'm doing and I'm so uncomfortable with it still, so we're just kind of winging it and going with whatever ends up happening. So that's pretty much how I feel about this one. I did like working with these acrylic paints though. They're very creamy, they're very nice to work with, they just dry super fast, which I've experienced with other acrylic paints I've worked with. They just dry very, very quickly, so I just gotta get used to that one, I guess. Which, I mean, not like I'm not used to it because watercolors dry fast, but it's not something I expect out of acrylics. I don't know why. But that is what I ended up doing with the August 2019 Artsnacks box. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you also got this box, let me know in the comments below what colors you got for the paints. I haven't really looked into it, but everyone else I've seen who's gotten this box got either a yellow and a green or a red and a yellow. So if you got a different combination, just let me know. If you got the same one as me, let me know. Let me know what you guys ended up doing with it. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.